Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah. So the idea here really, as I mentioned last time, the really main point we want to sort of highlight here is really the stylistic elements of this poem, the type of meter and the type of language and the type of really poetry or verse that he's using. Of course, you can see it. He depends a lot on, I would say, it's something like free verse. It's not in the sort of the normal way we find it. It's really, as I told you, close to being prose. Really, it's close to being prose, like writing long sentences, and even very long sentences. For example, you have 5, 6, or 7 or 8 lines even into one sentence. For example, here, let me show you even more. I'm just trying to look at this number 3. Let me see the end of this sentence. Notice. Yeah. Here in this one, you can see, for example, in number 3, this first section, first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines, one sentence, right? Separated all these lines by commas, a lot of commas. And at the end here, you find a full stop. The next one, you find, the whole thing is, actually is one sentence. I think I'm just looking for a full stop. I can't see any full stops here except, yeah, where is it? Yeah, till the end, really, till the end of 3 here, you find. So it's really, as I said, it's a bit weird to see this stylistic question being, I think, evoked and used and employed here by the writer in really strange way. Maybe I thought, I would think, and some people, some critics may, of course, have said a lot of stuff about that he was just trying to violate or not to obey the traditional rules of writing poetry. And I don't know, and to me, I find it very strange. And sometimes to me, it doesn't sound poetical at all, So again, here to go back to, as I think, I don't know, I told you to look at the summary, which I have included here for you, maybe, but you said, some of you said it's not there included. Now here, really the whole question here, that the poet is talking about his own position, about the universe, and about his attitude to life, and so on. So it is a lot ambiguous, philosophical, mysterious, and so many ways of really personal and sometimes universal questions that he's asking here, and I think it's a bit, when you look at it again, it's a bit clear at the end. You will see, well, the poet is really saying so many maybe ambiguous and trying to romanticize and create something which is really sometimes not there, So, for example, here in section 3, as I said, Whitman declares that neither time nor place really matter, for he is part of this generation and of many generations hence. Again, the idea that he's asking his big question in the poem: what is his own what is the meaning of his own existence as a human being, And the question of his, again, which is the ambiguous question, this spirituality and physicality as an important, maybe permanent question, if you like. So really here we can say, for example, that he speaks to future generations and tells them that their experiences are not new. Saying, as if to say, well, we all have been through this together. There's nothing really new to any of us. This has been done before, and it's going to be done later, and so on. So that's why he said, I too many and many a time across the river of old. Again, he's repeating the same thing. So he's saying, I saw these ships myself. He too saw the ships arriving in the same way, as if nothing new. What's that? So this section here reveals the poet's desire, if you like, to just maybe to say, well, there's no really boundaries to time or a place, and the distance here is vast and can never be measured, really. That is, how can you connect between generations and from this 100 years and maybe after 100 years and so on. So this elaboration and exaggeration about time and how you connect time is, as I said, the philosophical and the ambiguous thing, which is really very clear again. So the description here of this journey, you can see very clear and very vivid, and sometimes very romantic. And the movement here of the day, again, is compared here the day from the morning to midday to midnight or to night or whatever, is again, you can see, we say here, it's parallel really to the movement of the poet from one side of the river to another, and from one, if you like, from the physical to the spiritual, and so on and so forth. So you can still see in this whole of section 3, this idea of, again, transcendence beyond physicality, to travel beyond the physicality. Now, how can you do that? Of course, as I said, it's only through your own imagination again. If I read it with you here, you can see. It avails not time nor place, distance avails not. Avails here really, I just wrote it here, means benefits. For the sake of those of you. So he said distances, places, times, etc. There's no way we can escape that. I am with you, you men and women, and you men of a generation, or ever so many generations hence. Just as you feel when you look on the river and sky, so I felt. Just as any of you is one of a living crowd, I am, or I was one of a crowd, It's really like, as I said, again, is this poetry? I don't know. This is the idea, the way here. Again, it depends how you read it, really. If you like, you say, yeah, it's a lovely poetry, or the way you read it, yeah, it can sound poetical. But when you read it in a conversational way, you read it like in a conversation, you think this is like absolutely normal dialogue. It's like a normal dialogue. Just as any of you is one of a living crowd, I was one of a crowd. Just as you are refreshed by the gladness of the river and bright flow, I was refreshed. Just as you stand and lean on the roll, yet hurry with the swift current, I stood yet as was hurried. Just as you look on the numberless masts of ships and the thick skimmed pipes of steamboats, I looked. He's calculating and counting so many things that he did. He's saying, you are doing this now, I did it before you. You are doing it now, and it's going to be done later. Again, you can look at this really, it's like as I said, like in a conversational sort of thing, and he's telling his people or these people crossing. Again, it depends on the mode of you know, of your reading of this. As I said, you can read it in poetical sense. Yes, I think you can. I too many and many a time crossed the river of old. You know, whoa, you know, you can say that, you know. I too many and many a time crossed the river of old. Again, he's repeating the same thing. He's not saying anything new. Watched the 12 months seagulls. You know, all these years, all the days and months, watched these seagulls, these seabirds, the lovely birds, seagulls. Saw them high in the air, floating with motionless wings, oscillating their bodies, you know, the way they move their bodies to oscillate, you know, to the way they move. Saw how the glittering yellow lit up parts of their bodies and left the rest in strong shadow. Saw the slow wheeling circles and the gradual ebbing toward the south. Saw the reflection of the summer sky in the water. Notice again here, one of his main, I think, one of his main poetical, you know, figure of speech here is repetition. Repetition. He depends on this repetition a lot. You know, so, you know, as if to say, but again, you know, I'm saying here really it's quite simple, and the idea is very clear. You know, again, when you compare this now with the idea again of spirituality and physicality in the same way. Again, he's saying, had my eyes dazzled by the shimmering track of beams, looked at the fine centrifugal spokes of light round the shape of my head in the sunlit water, looked at the haze on the hills southward and southwestward, looked on the vapor as it flew in fleeces tinged with violet, looked toward the lower bay to notice the vessels arriving, saw their approach, saw abroad those that were near me, saw the white sails of schooners and sloops, saw the ships at anchor, the sailors at work in the rigging, or astride the spars, you know, and he goes on, you know, he's really just exaggerating, just, you know, repeating again, looked, and then saw, you know, and he goes on and on this, and, you know, he encountered, notice the round masts, the swinging motion of the hulls, the slender serpentine pennants, the large and small steamers in motion, the pilots in their pilot houses, the white wake left by the passage, the quick tremulous whirl of the wheels, the flags of all nations, the falling of them at sunset, the scallop-edged waves of the twilight, the ladded cups, come on, what's this? I don't know. I mean, look at the repetition and repetition and repetition, you know? Really, this is the idea I'm saying. I think he depends a lot on this, and he's, you know, exaggerating and exaggerating and exaggerating, and, you know, building up images and so on, you know. Notice here, the frocklesome crests and glistening, the stretch afar growing dimmer and dimmer, the grey walls of the granite shoals, the storehouses by the docks, on the river the shadowy group, the big steam stugged closely flanked on each side by the barges, the hay boat, the belated lighter, On the neighboring shore, the fires from the boundary chimneys burning high and glaringly into the night, casting their flicker of black, contrasted with wild red and yellow light over the tops of houses and down into the clefts of streets. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, where is the poetry? I really don't know. I mean, this is the idea. He's exaggerating. It's like a paragraph. It's really like a paragraph written by Dickens. It's really like a paragraph in one of Dickens's novels. Really, he must have read Dickens a lot. I can see Dickens here, you know, the way he's, you know, describing like the scene, like Dickens describing one of the streets of London. Really, this is an amazing image here to see this, you know, carry on and carry on and carry on. You know, I think this is very prosaic poetry in many ways. Again, just to say, I've been here before and you are here now, but I have been here before, you know, before you, and maybe hundreds and hundreds of years back, and now and later. Well, the rest is, again, is just elaboration and exaggeration and adding and padding. I think adding and padding more stuff. In number 4 here, notice what these, you know, saying all these things that I have said, all these things that I have seen and I have mentioned to you, these and all else were to me the same as they are to you. Well, you said that before. Come on. You said that before. These, meaning all what he mentioned, the hills and the mountains, the ships, the slender, the sea, the gull, the blah, 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 blah. He said, I have seen that before. Yeah. These and all else were to me the same as they are to you. I loved well those cities, loved well the stately and rapid river. The men and women I saw were all near to me, others the same, others who look back on me because I looked forward to them. The time will come, though I stop here today and tonight. Yeah, again, you know, he said that before. Really, the whole stanza here is a little conclusion to what he said before. Now, let me show you what I said here. In the 4th stanza here, I say in section, notice 4, Whitman declares again his deep love for the cities, the river, and the people. You know, this section again is traditional and marks the beginning of the change of the poet's attitude towards men and objects. In here we say, for the first time in this poem, he becomes emotionally involved in his relationships with other people and things. I don't know. In what sense is emotional? You know, they say, I don't know, you know, becomes emotional. Yeah. The reference to the future is prophetic and, as you can see, anticipates the growth of spiritual kinship between the poet and the reader. You know, as if to say, again, I think this is a bit, you know, trying to summarize his idea, which he been saying when he's saying this, you know, to me, like to you, and so on. It's the same thing, really, to me. He said nothing new, really. And in section 5, let me give you a little summary before we go and read it. Again, he repeats the same thing. Again, he questions, notice, poses a question about the relationship between himself and the generations to come. Again, the same thing. Even if there are hundreds of years between them, they are united by things, right? Which do not change. you know? Yeah. So he's saying the connection between me and people, because we are people. I mean, people in the past did the same thing. They lived in the same way. They experienced the same experience because they are people like us, Hundreds of years, maybe they didn't have maybe cars or electricities or things like that, maybe, but, people are people. So here we say, if there are hundreds or of years between them, they are united by things which do not change. He too lived in Brooklyn and walked in the Manhattan streets. He too felt the curious, abrupt questioning, sir, again, as if to say, what's new about it? All this stir within him, as if the feeling of sameness. He believes that his body, his physical existence, has become a ferry uniting him with all mankind. This is his crazy, ambiguous, or maybe metaphysical or metaphorical. His body is the ferry. His body is the car to connect him with these people. I don't know. I mean, this is really, as I said, mystical, maybe mythological, maybe ambiguous, maybe really absolutely unclear. So here we can say that in this section here, we see really maybe the main idea or the main question in this poem. I say here, this section is the central core of the poem. The poet is speaking here, or is seeking his own physical and spiritual identity, endeavors to unite his sensibility with that of his reader. As I said, this is the question of trying to connect physicality with spirituality, and which is sometimes impossible to really concrete or to show in a real sense. So his attempts to unite this physicality and spirituality again will remain ambiguous, really. He experiences again here, his experience transcends the limits of the Brooklyn ferry and is universalized. His quest now becomes more intellectual than before. The curious, abrupt questionings are no longer emotional, wishing to suggest the quality of spiritual edification or unification, really. Even edification can be correct. Whitman has used the metaphor of a chemical solution, to say how, if you like, to melt our spirits or melt our bodies and then to be separated again, this melting thing, we are in a chemical solution, or how we are mixing, things. I don't know. I mean, the float, he said, the float forever held in solution is the infinite ocean of spiritual life, which contains the potential of all life. The spiritual solution is the source of one's being. The use of, again, here is significant because it indicates the merging of man's experience with his spirit. Spirituality or spiritually, he is united with future generations and with all of mankind. Come on, Whitman, what is this? What do you want? Tell us, what do you want? Huh? What are you saying here? How? What do you want to say? I think he has really no idea of what he's talking about. I don't know. Look what he said. I said this, it's not, number 6, I'm reading back again. Let me read the poem. It's not upon you alone the dark patches fall. The dark through its patches down upon me also. Again, you see, he's always comparing himself. It's not only you, it's me also. You didn't experience the dark. I experienced the dark in the same way. The best I had done seemed to me blank and suspicious. My great thoughts, as I supposed them, were they not in reality meager? Nor is it you alone who know what it is to be evil. I am he who knew what it was to be evil. I too knitted the old knot of contrariety. It's like, again, challenging, and you know, this is what I'm saying, the conversational prosaic poetry, really. You know, it's like a dialogue, talking to people. It's not only you did this, I did that. You did not experience this, I experienced it. You have no idea about evil, I have the same. You know, as if to say, you know, he's always, yeah, okay, so what? Again, blabbled, blushed, resented, lied, stole, grudged, had guile, anger, lost, hot wishes, I dared not speak, was wayward, vain, greedy, shallow, sly, cowardly, malignant, blah, 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 blah. Huh? What's that? Boys, girls, what do you think? Hello? Are you asleep?
No, here, doctor, we are here.
No, still.
Do you think, am I exaggerating, or am I tough on Whitman? Do you think? What do you think? Oh, doctor, we are not in the mood to say anything today. Please go on and leave us alone. Okay, I will leave you alone, because you seem you are not willing to talk. But really, you can see he's exaggerating and exaggerating and repeating and repeating and repeating and counting and counting, and you know, for the sake of really just exaggeration. Really, it's, as I said, it's like, you know, challenging these people to say, well, I had all this, you are having that, I have it, you know, I had it. And he's counting the snake, the wolf, the hog, you know, again, the cheating look, the frivolous word, the adulterous wish, not wanting, refusals, hates, postponements, meanness, laziness. None of these wanting was one with the rest. The days and haps of the rest was called by my nighest name by clear, loud voices of young men as they saw me approaching or passing, felt their arms on my neck as I stood, or the negligent leaning of their flesh against. Sorry, somebody calling me here. Who's this? Yeah?
Yes, doctor, I was.
Alhamdulillah. لا والله بعتذر، عندي محاضرة، آسف. ممكن بعد شي ساعة ساعتين. أوكي. أستغفر الله. Okay. Yeah, sorry, somebody wanted to say something?
Yes, me, doctor. I was to ask you about. I'm just wondering if the poet just compare herself to the reader or not. Do you think that or not?
Yeah, well, to the reader, and he's not us only. He's talking to those people crossing. I mean, his own people, as if to say, the assumption that he's talking to the people on the boats. And of course, indirectly to us, readers, yeah.
Oh. And also, what do you think the purpose of these recommendation of and this question, that repeating question, like so, looked. What do you think the purpose of it?
Yeah, I'm saying really, I think he's, to be honest, he's just wanted to say, well, this is poetry. This is not normal short story. As if to say, you know, he wants to exaggerate to say, well, this is poetry. It's, to me, it's like, I mean, just exaggeration, just repetition to make it poetical. I don't think there's any other, in my immediate response to this, is that this is his own, if you like, way to say, well, I'm writing poetry. I think this is the only way, because one of the ways to use poetry is of course, I say in figures of speech and rhythm and meter and so on and so forth, and alliteration and repetition and images. Here, the images are, as you can see, the language here is, it's like a dialogue between two characters or somebody speaking to somebody else. The only thing is I can think of is just exaggeration as a way of saying that this is poetry. Otherwise, as I said, I would think of it as a really a passage or any paragraph in Dickens's novels, in one of Dickens's novels, really, just that.
Okay, thank you, Victor.
Yeah, okay. Again, he's saying, live the same life with the rest, the same old laughing, knowing, sleeping, play the part that still looks back on the actor or actress, the same old role, the role that is what we make it, as great as we like, or as small as we like, or both great and small. You know, again, you know, I think maybe if I can ask you to rewrite this, I think you would write it in a good way as a short story. I think it can be written as a short story in a lovely way, instead of having it like this. I think it can be done by I think anybody who would like to change this. Again, he in the same. Sorry, I was reading. Yeah, I was reading number 6 there. Yeah, you know, in number 7, he you know, goes on and on in the same thing. Closer yet I approach you. What thought you have of my now? I had as much of you. I laid in my stores in advance. I considered long and seriously of you before you were born. Who was to know what would come home to me? Who knows? But I am enjoying this. Who knows for all the distance? But I am as good as looking at you now. For all you can't see me. You know, again, really is the same kind of questioning, you know, trying to connect himself again to his listeners, to the people who are crossing, and he's saying, you know, how much I come close to you, you know, again, what do you think of me here? He's asking, what do you think? How much, you know, do you look at me as exactly like you look at yourself? And you know, this is again, you know, it's the same thing. Let me read the next one, and then I'll go to the summary again, because really, I'm not going to repeat the whole thing again. Notice in number 8, again, what can ever be more stately and admirable to me than mast-hemmed Manhattan? So he's saying, you know, I love this place. This is my area, Manhattan of New York, of course. He said, what can ever be more stately and admirable to me? I mean, I love this state, this country, this city. It's so lovely. I like it. You know, so stately, so admirable. River and sunset and scalloped waves of flood tide, the seagulls oscillating their bodies, the hay boat in the twilight, and the belated lighter. Again, he's repeating the same thing. You know, again, if you like, Manhattan, mast-hemmed Manhattan. Again, here, the Manhattan could be, you know, it could be a name of the river, could be the name of a ship, is the name of the area. Today, Manhattan is one big area of New York, really. Again, stately, whatever can be stately and admirable to me than mast-hemmed Manhattan? You know, is he referring here to the mast, meaning that these big ships with masts? Or, you know, is it, you know, referring or symbolically to the city itself? And again, he said, what gods can exceed these that clasp me by the hand, and with voices I love call me promptly and loudly by me nighest name as I approach? What is more subtle than this which ties me to the woman or man that looks in my face, which fuses me into you now and pours my meaning into you? We understand then, do we not? What I promised without mentioning it, have you not accepted? What the study could not fetch, could not teach, what the preaching could not accomplish is accomplished, is it not? طول بالك علينا يا شيخ. طول بالك, isn't it? As if he's a teacher with with a cane and whipping us. He said, hey, what do you think? What do you want to know? I gave you more. What do you want to learn? I gave you more. What meaning do you want? I gave you all the meanings. What do you want to understand? I gave you all the understandings, and blah, blah, blah. And you don't want to accept me? Come on. You know, as if he's threatening us. What the study could not teach, what the preaching could not accomplish, is accomplished, isn't it? Now, let me go back and maybe to see here, what did I say here, or what did I think I notice here. In section 7 and 8, the poet again addresses, the poet is again thinking as much of the reader, yet born and born as the reader. Again, while he reads, is now thinking of the poet, and so on. Again, the same thing. The poet is watching the river and the reader, and so on. The poet is trying to establish a link between himself and his future readers, and etc. Now, Whitman, again, in section 8, as I said, Whitman describes the beauty of Manhattan Harbor, the sunset on the river, the seagulls and the twilight, and he realizes that the bonds between himself and other people are subtle and enduring again. Between himself and the person who looks in my face is, here again, is the subtlest bond. The union between himself and others cannot be understood in ordinary terms, by teaching or by preaching. It is more physical and intuitive. Recalling the scene of the river and the people with whom he was associated, he evokes the spiritual bond that links man and his fellow men. With reference to fusion, again, I think you know, he's trying to say this philosophy. You know, again, the union with the reader is mystical and beyond the bounds of rational thought or philosophy. I think, you know, I was trying here to see what other critics said, and I think I believe that this is done. This is said by many critics, but I think this is not only that, but still this is very mysterious and philosophical and not clear really what he's saying and showing off, really, to say as if to say, I will give you everything. What do you want? You know, because these questions, and he's asking all these questions. Maybe I read them as in an angry manner or some kind of ironical manner, you know, which, etc. Again, you can read them maybe a little bit slightly different, maybe. But in a way, he's trying to say that I have all the things that I can help here, that I can show you the real connection between us, and so on. Really, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's enough. I would like to stop here, and you know, the rest you can see the last one here, number 9. Read that on your own, because really it's the same thing. It's still, to me, it's still not really not really completely convincing in a real sense. So I leave that for you to read. But maybe here I will summarize it for you, as I kept saying here. Notice in section 9, the poet involves the river to flow, the clouds to shower upon him and the other passengers. Again, said the tall masts of Manhattan again to stand up. He calls on everything, the birds, the sky, the water, to keep on fulfilling their function with splendor. For everything is part of the universal life flow. The poet desires that the eternal float of solution should suspend itself everywhere. Physical objects like dumb, beautiful ministers wait for their union with the poet's soul. Thus, at the end of the poem, Whitman addresses himself to material objects, which are also part of the life process because they are useful to man. You know, again, we go back to the matter, the spirit, and the matter and the object, of course. Now, this section here, I say, is a bit significant because it uses the language of incantation, if you like, this, you know, how to resurrection and, you know, physicality. The poet invokes the images of his experience to suggest the flowing of time. The physical existence of man is like a ferry plying between the two shores of mortality and immortality. He and his fancy, his imagination, use objects to express the idea of the search for the eternal beyond the transient. This search, or the function of fancy, is exemplified by the ferry ride, which moves from the point here, from one point of physical world to the spiritual, or to a destination of the spiritual world. This journey of the spirit can take place easily in a universe which is harmonious and well adjusted. To me, really, in one sentence, I say, you know, summary, that this poet has given us a lot and a lot and a lot of images and description, repetition, to say that, you know, we can have, we should understand, we should maybe connect well our physical world with spiritual world. In other words, we really need to be good people. Full stop. That's it. You know, really, this is the idea about the spirituality and physicality and all that. It's it's really that's the whole question here. How to have this harmony, and how to be okay, to be really pleased with yourself, if you are a good man or not. You know, the question to say, what if you like, what good are you doing here in this world? Are you happy with what you are doing in this world? Are you okay? You know, in other words, you have to balance yourself, to have to reconcile with yourself, and to say, well, you are good because you have been doing something good to yourself, to your body, to your health, to your spirit, to your God, to your religion, to your family, to your kids, to your mother, to your brother, to your sister, to your neighbor, to your wife. You know, yeah, I mean, this is all these are the spiritual stuff. And you know, he's saying the same thing, you know, as if Whitman now is an old man, just looking at these people saying, yeah, as if he's really maybe regretting, maybe is towards the end of his life, and maybe he's regretting what he had done in his past. Maybe say, yeah. What do you want to know? Later you will know, you know. And the idea, really, sometimes this is funny, and this is true, that sometimes older people sometimes have this attitude about it. Anyway, I think that's enough about this one. The next one is a lovely poem, which is different here by him, but it has the same thing. When lilacs last in the dooryard bloom, lilacs, and this is here the picture, I gave you the picture of the lilac, and I think it's we have this we say the word in Arabic also. I think the color of lilac, we say laylaki. I don't know. Do you say it in Oman? Laylaki? The color. Really, this is, and we use the same word in Arabic. We say laylaki.
Yes.
Yeah, this is really the color. And this is even the plant itself called lilacs, and I think we have so many. I think in Syria we have this. I don't know if you have this in Oman. I'm not sure, but this is a tree that he said that it grows everywhere. And really, here this poem is about the death of President Lincoln. President Abraham Lincoln, who was killed and assassinated by, of course, the terrible, if you like, I should say, I don't know what to call them, because it was a civil war. Really, it was a civil war between the North, the white men, who wanted to abolish, who wanted to stop slavery, and the people in the South who wanted to keep slavery. So he was shot, he was killed by one of the Southerners, or I don't know if you call them revolutionary. I don't think they were revolutionary. Revolution against whom? You know, it's not a revolution. It's not really a war of independence. Independence from what? Maybe a war of emancipation, yeah, but the people who killed him, they did not want emancipation for the blacks. Really, you could call them colonialist warriors who wanted to keep the colony, who wanted to keep slavery, who wanted to be really to keep this system of slavery in a really bad way. This poem is a bit nicer than the other one. I mean, nicer in the sense, maybe it's clearer to some extent, clearer. Here, this is an elegy. It is an elegy about the death and the value of this man, Lincoln, the President Lincoln. When lilacs last in the dooryard bloomed, and the great star nearly dropped in the western sky in the night, I mourned, and yet shall mourn with ever-returning spring. Maybe you can say to me, doctor, when you like a poem, you can read it like a poem. When you don't like something, you don't read it the way you want. Yes, I agree with you. Absolutely. It depends on the reading. It depends on your mood. Yes. Here I read this as a poem. Yes, because maybe the lines are shorter. Yes. The lines are shorter. Yes. There is more poeticism. Yes. You know, when lilacs last in the doorway bloomed, and the great star nearly dropped in the western sky in the night, I mourned, and yet shall mourn with ever-returning spring, ever-returning spring. Trinity, sure to me you bring, lilac blooming, perennial and drooping star in the west, and thought of him I love. Wow. You see, there is one, if you like, there is some kind of rhyme here. Spring, bring, again, blooming and drooping. And, you know, yeah, there is some kind of, here again, some kind of rhyme, isn't it? There is some kind of rhyme. Although, really, there's no rhyme at the end of the lines here. But there is some kind of, call it internal rhyme. So really here you can see the poet starts in a very romantic way, talking about the man I love, this man, you know, him I love, him, the president, that I love this man whom really, if you like, in a way, we think that he was a greatly admirable, hard-working, intelligent, blah, 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 president. And he was killed. Why? So he's referring here to the spring, ever-returning spring. Trinity, sure to me you bring. You know, Trinity here we say, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, this, you know, Trinity. Lilac bloom and drooping star in the west, as if, you know, the star, the morning star, you know, shining and coming down and shining on us, and, you know, drooping, meaning sad, meaning everything is crying for you. Skies and, you know, plants and days and stars, everything, you know, crying for you. Ever returning spring, Trinity sure to me you bring. Like blooming perennial and drooping star in the west, and thought of him I love. You know, as if to say, I'm saying here, the whole world is for the loss of this man, Lincoln. Oh, powerful western fallen star, oh, shades of night, oh, moody, tearful night, oh, great star disappeared, oh, the black murk that hides the star, oh, cruel hands that hold me powerless, oh, hopeless soul of me, oh, harsh surrounding cloud that will not free my soul. Again, you see, this is poetry. Again, repeating, oh, whoa, 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 all the lines. He's again repeating the same, using the word oh, oh, oh all the time. You know, he's very sad for the loss of this president, Abraham Lincoln. Oh, powerful western star, fallen star. Again, he's saying, as I said, they're repeating the same thing. All the stars are crying for you. Powerful western fallen star. Oh, shades of night. Oh, moody, tearful night. Oh, great star disappeared. Oh, the black murk that hides the star. Oh, cruel hands that hold me powerless. Oh, helpless soul of me. Oh, harsh surrounding cloud that will not free my soul. Meaning, I'm absolutely terrified, absolutely bereaved, absolutely sad, absolutely angry for the loss of this man. The stars, the night, everything he said. The great stars, all the stars. Again, he's repeating the same thing. The black murk, the heights, the clouds. Again, repeating the word star many times. Star, and the next line, night, moody night, fearful night, tearful night. Tearful night. Everything is crying for him. Disappeared. The great star disappeared. And again, black murk means the cloud again, the same thing. And cruel hands that holds me powerless, that I can't do anything. I should have, we should have helped and defended him. Helpless soul of me, we feel helpless. We can't do anything now. He has been killed. We lost him. Harsh surrounding cloud that will not free my soul. Again, he is saying this in the same way. Look at the number 3. In the dooryard fronting an old fame house near the whitewashed palings. Okay, let me repeat. In the dooryard fronting in an old farm near the whitewashed palings or palings stands the lilac bush, tall, growing with heart-shaped leaves of rich green, with many a pointed blossom rising delicate with the perfume strong I love, with every leaf a miracle. And from this bush in the dooryard, with delicate colored blossoms of heart-shaped leaves of rich green, a sprig with its flower I break. He's talking here about this color here. Notice here he said the leaves are heart-shaped. Yeah, you can look at the leaves, they look like hearts, he said. The leaves of this tree, they are heart-shaped. Not the leaves, but also the petals of the flower. You can see also the petals here. They look like heart-shaped. He's describing here these trees that they grow at the front doors of all houses, he said. Everywhere, he said, and this is true. I've seen it really I've seen this in many places in Britain and in America. I think I've seen that in many gardens, in front gardens or even back gardens. You find these trees growing, and you can see that they really decorate the gardens of these houses. He said, notice dooryard fronting an old farmhouse near the whitewashed palings, as if to say that at the front of every house, at the front yard, the dooryard means, as I said, the front gardens of every house, you can see these lilacs. Again, notice he said lilac bush, like a forest, not just one tree, many trees, like a bush, he said. Bush, like a forest, small tiny wood, if you like. Tall growing with heart-shaped leaves, means the color of this tree, heart-shaped. And he said rich green, very green, with many pointed blossom rising delicate. You know, he's describing the way the tree is growing and how lovely it looks. And the perfume, he said, the smell of this flower is so lovely. With the perfume strong I love, you know, meaning this really lovely, this lovely tree with the lovely flowers that it has, and the smell that it has, it carries, is so amazing, so beautiful, so lovely. With every leaf, a miracle. As if to say, you know, with the creation of each of these leaves, you can see that there is a miracle there. How miraculous this is. And from this bush in the dooryard, with delicate colored blossoms of heart-shaped leaves of green, again, he's repeating the same thing. He said, from this tree, I took one twig, he said. I said a sprig, or a little twig, really. A sprig with its flower I break. Means I took one little branch and I took it away to put it in on the tomb, on the dead body, on the tomb, if you like, right? On the coffin of this dead president, because the coffin is moving, as if to say, the poem really is, as I said, an elegy, how the coffin is being carried away. I said, I will take one flower and put it on the coffin of this dead man. A sprig with its flower I break, means a small bunch, a small twig, you know, I broke from this tree with flowers in it, and to put it on the coffin of the dead body. Really, again, as you can see here, really the real symbolism, and I think the real, if you like, the reality of it. I mean, it's really very clear. There's no mysticism here. You know, he's very clear. He said, you know, this man was so important to us and he was killed. And we feel so much bad that we couldn't help. We couldn't save him. We couldn't, you know, help him. And he's saying, that's why he's saying, oh, you know, being very, very sad and very angry, that he's saying the whole world is crying for him. And really, it's amazing. Really, it's amazing. Sometimes it's really amazing thing that sometimes this can happen in real life. Somebody may feel the same thing about this idea here. Notice, in the swamp, in secluded recesses, a shy and hidden bird is warbling a song. Now he goes on to describe nature, because he said this coffin is being carried away for burial. They were taking the coffin on a hearse, like on a hearse, really, like on a hearse, taking him to burial ground, to the graveyard. So he said, describe the lilacs and the flowers and the green and the shaped color and so on and so forth. And now he's saying, even in the woods nearby, notice in the swamp, in secluded recesses. He used the word swamp, but he means, again, it's like a lake, you know. The word swamp sometimes can mean bad implication, but here he means the lake and the river, like a river, not a river really. So a swamp is not a river, is like a pond, really, like a pond, or like as I said, like really a small lake. It's like a lake in the middle of a forest or anywhere. So he's saying, next to this we have a lake in a secluded, isolated wood or isolated, you know, forest. There is a bird singing. He said, a bird, hidden, shy, hidden bird, warbling. Notice, warbling, singing a song. solitary, the thrush. So this bird is called the thrush, and that's, I think, is one of the loveliest birds. Really, they are very lovely. The color, some of them, and I think, yeah, with really spots, the color of those birds, and they are very lovely, and they're very edible, very tasty. And I think in many countries, I think here and in the West, they don't shoot them or they don't hunt them, but in many other places they hunt them, which is really very funny and sad that they do this. But this thrush, he said, is singing. The hermit withdrawn to himself, avoiding the settlements, sings by himself a song. So notice here, all nature even is singing, you know, sad songs for this dead president. The hermit also, the hermit means this isolated priest. Withdrawn is going back and isolating himself, avoiding people. He does not want to see anybody. Again, on his own, singing by himself a song of the bleeding throat. A sad song for the death of this man. Death's outlet song of life. So all these birds, the hidden bird, the warbling song, the solitary thrush, the isolated priest, and everybody, they are all singing sad songs for this dead man. For well, dear brother, I know. For well, dear brother, I know. If thou wast not granted to sing, thou wouldn't surely die. You know, as if to say, comparing that everybody is crying, all people should be crying. My dear brother, you know, here the word brother could mean anybody, you know, real brother or anybody, or even could mean also really mean this man killed could be like, you know, our own, was like our own brother. And he was our big brother. And every one of us must be crying, must be singing, must be sad for his loss. Surely, he said, surely we know we will die, but for this man here, we feel absolutely at loss because of his loss. Over the breast of the spring, the land, amid cities, amid lanes, and through old woods, where lately the violent peeped from the ground, spotting the grey debris, amid the grass in the fields, each side of the lanes, passing the endless grass, passing the yellow speared wheat, every grain from its shroud in the dark brown fields uprisen, passing the apple tree blows of white and pink in the orchards, carrying corpse to where it shall rest in the grave. Night and day journeys a coffin. Wow. He's saying all nature is carrying this dead body. Everything is watching this dead body over the breast of spring. Notice here he's comparing spring, breast. You know, spring could be a spring of water or could be the season. The land, the cities, everything is, you know, receiving and saying goodbye to this dead man. And the way they are taking this dead body, this tomb, this coffin, if you like, you know, amid lanes, among streets, and streets, through old woods, also passing, they're taking the body. And again, violet, again, lately the violets peeped from the ground. Even the small, tiny flowers, violets, small flowers, the color, the violets, you know, the young, rosy, small, tiny violets also are just maybe saying goodbye. Spotting the gray debris again, amid the grass in the fields, each side of the lanes. Again, the grass or the wheat or the barley or the corn, all the fields, passing the endless grass, passing the yellow-speared wheat, every grain from its shroud in the dark brown fields uprisen, as if to say, all plants, all plantations, flowers, cities, streets, springs, and I said, even violets, woods, fields. I said, notice, endless grass, wheat, grain, corn, you know, all this, they have, you know, they are saying goodbye. Again, passing the apple tree, blows of white and pink in the orchards, carrying a corpse. Now saying, all this as if to say, amongst all these, this lovely body, this lovely dead man is being taken to his grave, where it shall rest in the grave, night and day, journeys a coffin, you know, taking a coffin. And really here you can say here, journeys, again here as night and day journeys, you know, as, if you like, going and coming, going and so many times, you know, taking a dead body. Again, he repeats the same thing. I'll repeat this quickly, I think, and I will stop. Only this one, boys and girls, please forgive me. Coffin that passes through lanes and streets, through day and night with the great cloud darkening the land, with the pomp of the in-looped flags, with the cities draped in black, with the show of the state themselves as of cape-veiled women standing, with processions long and winding and the flambeaux of the night, with the countless torches lit, with a silent sea of faces and the unburned heads, with the waiting depot, the arriving coffin, the somber faces, with dirges through the night, with the 1,000 voices rising strong and solemn, with all the mournful voices of the dirges poured around the coffin, the dim-lit churches, the shuddering organs, where amid these you journey, with the tolling bells, perpetual clang. Here, coffin that slowly passes, I give you my sprig of lilac. You know, saying this, so the way he's saying how I'm going to put my bunch of roses, my bunch of flowers on his body, on the coffin. And you can see really the poem here is a bit longer. Maybe it's a long one. Maybe next time I will give it another 10 minutes to finish next time, and then that will be it about Whitman. Okay, boys and girls, I'm sorry for taking more time. I will stop here, and I will stop recording. But I will see if you have really any question. Please, you can ask.